Arteta out stories rumble again. Manchester United win away from home in Atletico Bilbao. Spurs win at home against who cares? And yet the stories come out. Mikel Arteta should be ashamed. It's time to replace him. I'm Ty Knight here for TK24 Sports. If you're new to the show, like, subscribe, turn that notification on so you don't miss a show every time we upload. Okay, let's go. Road to 100,000, may I add. Man United, Spurs, congratulations. You both got victories. 3-0 to Man United away from home. 3-1 to Spurs at home in the Europa League. Chelsea also won in the Conference League as well, may I add. But we're here to talk about the typical stories that come out from 10% of Arsenal fans. Mikel Arteta should be ashamed of himself if United or Spurs win their respective competition. If Chelsea win, oh my God, they've had a better season than Arsenal. Now, on paper, when you talk about trophies, yes, it looks like on trophies, one of those three teams are potentially going to pick up a trophy. But guess what? Just like Arsenal, who are in, may I add, the top tier of European football, the Champions League, have a second leg to play. All three other teams have an advantage. They both scored 3 goals. They've either got a +2 or +3 advantage. Arsenal are on a -1. Now, bear this in mind. The same Arsenal fans last season who were crying when they went knocked out of the Champions League against Bayern Munich said, what we want to see next season, and again, these are the words, what we want to see next season is Arsenal at least get to the semi-finals. Arsenal are in the semi-finals and they're still crying. They're still crying. They're saying it's Mikel Arteta's fault because Enrique schooled him. Arteta had no plans, no idea what to do. He did in the 90th minute, he brought in Ethan Nwaneri. Now, don't get me wrong, that was a stupid move by Mikel Arteta. Waited 90 minutes to take off Odegaard, who was having a stinker, and bring on Nwaneri for 5 minutes of stoppage time. That part I agree with. But are we forgetting that Mikel Arteta doesn't play on the pitch? He was on Thomas Partey and then gets a stupid yellow card, who then gives Arsenal a disadvantage. Arsenal are at a disadvantage now as we speak. But it wasn't Mikel Arteta who decided to push another player and then get booked to miss this game, which potentially could have cost Arsenal. Potentially, again, may I add. But when Arsenal fans and so-called Arsenal fans and I'm going to say AFTV and on the internet, those trolls, call out Mikel Arteta and say, you're rubbish, this is why we don't like you, you need to go, makes no sense. They cried last season, they asked for something as a minimum, he delivers the minimum, and now the minimum's not good enough. But to compare him now to a Spurs and Postecoglou and a Man United Amaron is laughable. To turn around and say it would be disastrous if Man United or Spurs win a competition before Arsenal. Yeah, it's kind of disastrous. But is it disastrous the way they're playing all season? No. Arsenal have been clearly better. Now, if Arsenal were in the Europa League, it would be a cakewalk. Judging by the standards of what Arsenal have done so far in the league and in Europe, it would have been a cakewalk in the Europa League. And thank goodness for UEFA for actually not watering down the Europa League by taking teams from the Champions League who didn't do well, go into the next tier of European competition just to get a trophy as like a runners-up. What you're seeing in the Europa League is just the standard of what it is. Second-rate teams fighting for a competition. Okay, so if we put it like this, if we said the Champions League, the Europa League, and the Conference Cup is ranked in this way, the Champions League would be the FA Cup, the Europa League would be the Carabao Cup, and the Conference League would be the Papa John's Trophy. Now, of all three, which one would you say you'd want your team to win? You'll turn around and say the FA Cup, and then if you can't get the FA Cup, you get the Carabao Cup. But Arsenal weren't rubbish enough to get in the Europa League. That was United and Chelsea last season. Arsenal were good enough to get into the Champions League, and now they're good enough to be in the semi-finals. Now, we are not going to keep on comparing Arteta to every other team that if they win a trophy. And bearing in mind, a trophy in a cup competition, by the way, can be a bit of guided luck along the way. Now, Arsenal have had a bit of guiding luck along the way. They have faced some big teams, and they have won against big teams. In the Champions League, in so far, you get 8 games in the new format. Then you get in the first round of knockouts, you get 2 games. That's 10. Then you get then you get to the quarters, another 2. That's 12. Out of the 12 games that they have played so far in the Champions League, may I add 12, 13, may I add, they have lost how many? They are 13-2. Well, they're 12-2, should I say. They have done remarkable with this current setup. Now, this squad, I know, is not the best. It's far from it. Don't think I'm here looking at you right now thinking I'm an Arteta in. I've said already, next season will be his last season under this new change and format with Andrea Berta coming in. And I think there's going to be a change at the helm if Mikel Arteta does not deliver a trophy next season. That will be his last. And I would rather it be his last. But this season, I'm giving him a little grace because the squad is just not good enough. But how dare these so-called Arsenal fans and the ones online, I'm not going to name the names, I won't do that just yet, but they keep on going on the way they're going on, ban, you're pissing me off, I will just come out with the names. And I'll just call them out for it. Because the way you go on and say to yourself, I'm not his biggest fan, but yet you're online and you're going, oh my God, yeah, we're winning, we're winning, we're winning. Or when they lose, or I'm just not happy with it, I need to get a change of manager. And everyone's entitled to their opinion with that. But you do not compare this Arsenal team to the Man United or the Spurs, who are nearly losing 20 games in a Premier League season, who are fighting between not to get finished on 17. So you're finishing in a 16th out of 14 or 15th? That's how low they are. And so for these so-called fans coming out to say it would be embarrassing if they won it, Arsenal not in that same competition to compare them. If they was in the same competition, then you could compare it, then I would totally understand. But they're going up against different oppositions and different quality in those oppositions. So if you're one of those supporters, if you're still watching right now, thank you so much. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, and then turn that notification on. But if you're one of those who follow those people on AFTV or who are associated with AFTV and you agree with them, then basically what you're saying is you want Arsenal to be in the Europa League and then just win that 3 times in a row, like what Unai Emery done, and say that's the sort of manager we need. But when we did have him, he got us to the final, and then we got molly whooped. That's right, we got molly whooped. So it seems I don't know if you guys even know what you want out of a manager, let alone a competition or a runner in the competition. But I want my team to win. And I'm sure you want your team to win. We just all go about it and express ourselves in different ways. But you cannot compare Man United, Spurs, and Arsenal and Chelsea. You just cannot do it. You can't do it in the competitions because we don't play in Europe the same competitions. We're in different tiers. Chelsea are in the lower tier of the European competition. Man United and Spurs are in the mid. And Arsenal are at the top. And they're not knocked out yet. Spurs, Chelsea, United, they are not through yet to their respective to their finals on the European competition. So let's simmer down. It's only half time. Arsenal have a chance of getting through. Chelsea, Man United, and Spurs have a chance of getting knocked out. You see how I've done that? It can happen. Okay? Right. That's what I've got to say. That's all I've got to say. Road to 100,000 subscribers is on its way. Stop comparing Arsenal to United, Spurs, and Chelsea and saying, should Mikel Arteta be embarrassed? Should he go if those teams win a European competition? It'd be bad, but guess what? We'll be saying, but we wasn't in that competition to have a conversation in the first place. Let's go with that one. I'm Ty Knight here for TK24 Sports.